We're living in unprecedented times, but while your plans may have changed, you can still take back control of your life and your career. Rowan College of South Jersey is here for you. Although we're not together physically, we are together in spirit and working towards a singular goal: student success. During this uncertain time, RCSJ is helping to meet the needs of our students. One thing is certain, we're still here for you. Visit rcsj.edu to register for summer and fall classes.
I'm Josh Piddington. I'm RCSJ's Vice President and Chief Information Officer, and I'll be acting as the moderator for today's virtual student town hall. Thank you so much for attending. In just a few moments, you'll hear from our panelists, which will consist of Dr. Fred Keating, our college president, Vice President and Provost, Dr. Brendan Rickards, Vice President of Student Services, Judith Atkinson, Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, Dominic Bersicelli, Dr. Jim Picone, Vice President of the Cumberland campus, and Dr. Sue Hall, who holds two hats, the Dean of our Nursing and Health Professions Division, and she is also our college's medical director. You might be wondering, how do I ask a question? This is easy as possible, so please look for the chat button, click or tap that button to send us your questions. We'll do our best to answer those questions at the end of this event, and we promise if we can't answer them during the event, we'll send an email. We'll put it into our FAQ at rcsj.edu/coronavirus. Note that if you've called in, you'll be unable to ask questions. So please feel free to send us questions through the form that are located at the Town Hall website. And in just a couple of days, this event is being recorded and it will be posted to that same website. Dr. Keating, we live in uncertain times. Not only are we living through a pandemic, but we're also grappling with horrific social injustice that's rightfully pulling at the fabric of our country. I know that everyone in attendance today wants to hear your principal perspective.
Thank you, Josh. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our continuing series of town halls. This one is directed at student body, potential student body, as well as returning and the retention idea, people that are continuing to hold us out as their primary choice for higher ed. Once again, the times in which we're living are only getting much more complicated and much more confusing. We are looking at ways every day to not only hold the institution together, but to advance the institution with growth. But as we do this now, we are mired in this pandemic, which shows no signs of relenting. We actually are now concerned more so about a spike, so to speak, in the infection rate, and the fact that we in New Jersey, having experienced the early phase of this disease, that we are not, and we are subject really to the return. So let me just say this up front. The biggest question that's posed to me and to us as a cabinet is, what are we doing in the fall? Let me be as candid and as open as I can be. At this time, we are waiting for the directions that we were promised by the governor and his office with the Secretary of Higher Education. Those instructions were initially to be pushed out and publicized yesterday, the 15th. We have yet to receive them. We are questioning that now. There is some thought that there might be a conversation with the governor's office and his staff in the days to come this week. Assuming we must wait for that clarity of the rules, so I say, of engagement, we are behind the scenes working on several different plans and options up against the health departments and the respective county governments and obviously the state. This has been a very difficult situation. We're doing our best, and our promise to you today is that we will publicize and make known our decision fully by the end of June. We are allowing for the governor obviously to go first, not only as a courtesy, but also as the idea of the guiding light of executive order. We know the conditions under which we're under now are that the campus is closed. Our summer programs are online. So what we're doing with the fall is basically pulling all of our people in, and we are looking at what we'll call a soft campus opening. We're hoping for July. The instruction, however, for the summer sessions will stay online. Dr. Rickards will be on this panel, and later today, he will put more clarity along with Dr. Hall from our medical area as our medical director, a little more clarity as to how these two worlds are coming together so that we can safely operate. Let me just say this to you. We are of mind as a college community with our board to play on the side of conservative and safety for our student body, for our faculty, and our staff. We are not of mind that we should aggressively get out in front and open up in a situation where we will expose people to a viral infection without the proper considerations. Keep in mind, the ones that are in my mind first and foremost, we do not have really good aggressive therapeutics, and we certainly do not have a vaccination. My opinion as the president, until at least the therapeutic line comes into play more aggressively and available, as we wait out the vaccination consideration, which could literally be another year, we will migrate in, but we will go very, very slowly. Some colleges and universities are going very aggressively into opening. Keep in mind, we do not have dormitory life on our campuses in Cumberland and Gloucester. However, we do have Rowan Choice, which enrolls about 300 to 400 of our students in the dormitories and on the campus and classrooms of Rowan University. So we are working hand in hand with them. We have received their plan and phase-in guidelines. They too are subject to the governor and to the health officials, so they're preliminary at best. We are working with them side by side because we have to pretty much walk on both sides of that road. Those that we have in resident life will play by the Rowan University guideline. Those that we have on our commuter campuses in Gloucester and Cumberland will play more so to our game, knowing that a county college is far different from a university with an inclusive kind of environment for their population. I can say this to you, that no one in the president's position of any college or university, if you look at our literature, is comfortable that we have what we need to make an informed decision. So we're basically going with what we can do internally, considering the operational aspect, the classroom, the CDC regulations, the idea of testing, tracing, therapeutics, vaccination. And let me say this in conclusion to this point. There is no clarity. Nowhere in our society do we have guidelines on what this virus can do and will do. It is new and under study. And the medical profession will admit quickly that the doctors that I have spoken to, as well as with Dr. Hall as our representative, have basically said, we don't know much about this virus. So I don't think we can be cavalier and go to an opening and put, again, everyone at risk. So you see, we're leaning toward, and Dr. Rickards will do more with Dr. Hall, we are leaning toward a consideration of an online delivery in the fall. We have programs that can operate in that fashion. We're working with the secretary. We call them carve-out programs, clinical and hands-on, where we would have to work closely with a waiver to the state, we assume, to be able to operate them under CDC regulation, which is very, very difficult to do, and with an element of risk. So in summary, we are doing everything we can to give you clarity of thought as to what you would experience if you enroll at RCSJ in September. We're very confident that what we learned in March when we went online by necessity, that we can enhance and improve our delivery, as well as our student support. We have a plan with our foundations to provide last dollar consideration for laptop purchasing through Barnes & Noble. We feel optimistic that all of our students will have that capability. We are working with different providers with regard to internet connectivity and the possibility of being a participant in supporting our student body with the ability to get their home connected for Wi-Fi. We're working with the mayors of both counties for hotspots to be enhanced. And we know that once we're out of pandemic, at least the soft exit aspect of phase 2 and 3 of the government, libraries, restaurants, and others would open, hotspots would be available there as a backup, because right now we know we're functioning strictly out of the home. So with all of that in mind, keep please in your mind that we are working on this every day, all day. We are going to err on the side of caution. Many people have said, don't send us back too soon. Don't open up too quickly. We hear you loud and clearly. We also hear those that want to get back into a normalized setting of education. Somewhere in the middle lies the truth. And for us right now, the fall looks to be guarded, and we will play on a guarded field. and the idea of transition in spring semester in January for some migration back to a more aggressive and on-campus experience. That's the plan. Can we execute it? It's in the hands of powers that are above us. This virus is not going to go away soon, even though we are starting to act like this pandemic is over. It's not, and we have people to protect. So keep in mind, and then to fall, if we do open up in an largely online format, Dr. Rickards will give you the ways we're going to come out differently to make it a better experience and a more qualitative experience for the idea of the exchange of the professor and the student. We will have the technology and the capability and the training. We will be doing it in a better way. So it will be a better experience. And if we can transition then to a spring semester where we go hybrid or go on campus and stay online to some extent to get out this year and possibly be vaccinated for the future, then we will, take more off and push further into the on-campus delivery model. The Board of Trustees has voted not to increase tuition and fees. You need to know that we have elected in these times of economic stress that we don't want to add to it. We want to keep higher education accessible and affordable. So we will be making the tuition and the fee structure as we have on both campuses one number, and it will stay that way. We have approached both foundations to put more scholarship money in play, and both have agreed. Start Smart, School Counts in Cumberland, both of those scholarship programs are going to be enhanced and pushed out more aggressively with regard to availability to make it again affordable. So we're attacking this situation from all directions. The other component that I want to speak to, at the very same time, we're finding ways to reopen our campus and have a social exchange. We as a college cabinet and a community in both Cumberland and Gloucester counties are aggressively looking at issues with regard to social justice and equity. We are very concerned. I professionally, as the president of the college, am extremely concerned with what's going on in our country with regard to diversity, equity, and social justice. Inclusion becomes the critical word, that we are all included and that we work together in a more compassionate environment of trust, exchange, and empathy, that we understand one another, that we recognize that we are all different, and that we have ways that we must come together to make this society a better place in which to live. We must change who we are, what we do, and how we do it. And your college is part of that conversation. In my note to the student body and to the faculty and staff, I have expressed that we should be a leader in the conversation, that higher education must lead our society to higher ground. So we are evaluating our programs, our courses of study, our curriculum. We have established a more aggressive equity and diversity committee. Al-Marie Jones will lead it for the college. We are looking at student panels, student kind of communicative exchanges. We are looking at ways that we can have the conversations we need to have, recognizing these are not easy conversations, but we will have them, and we will be very forward with one another. And to the point I made earlier about the idea of maybe being largely in an online non-contact relationship, it's going to be extremely difficult, but we are going to try to take steps in both directions, put them together as parallel tracks and lead us to a better future, which I believe will be more so in the spring semester as we hopefully come out with a drop in the numbers and hospitalizations. The spiking has either not occurred or is under control, that we can get more comfort in bringing the parties together, recognizing that ultimately we have to run the institution in a new way with new thoughts and actions about our diversity and our equity and how we will promote it on our campus, but how we will entrench it into the curriculum and how we will deliver the curriculum to the students in a qualitative and quantitative way. We are going to expand our programs. We are looking at a complete online campus for the future as the third campus of our divisions, Gloucester, Cumberland, and the online with Rowan Global, a partnership with the university. We are looking at a seventh academic division, career and technical education, to work with the labor and workforce and those of you that are non-traditional or traditional students that are looking to get back into work or advance your occupation level with training and credentialing. So we are trying to respond to these three pandemics all in one collective vision. And we're going to do it carefully. We're going to do it right. We're going to do it with participation. We're going to listen, and we're going to act accordingly. Please understand, be patient with us. We cannot give you clarity until we get clarity from those that oversee us and work with us to provide a safe environment. In closing, as of today, and again, others behind me on the panel will put more clarity to this thought, we are going to enter the fall conservatively, that we're more inclined to think that we don't know enough about this virus in particular to be able to just go back in to the classroom environment and go from there, certainly under CDC regulation, and whether the quality of that delivery and the challenge of that delivery with the risk involved of that delivery would be worth it. So please understand, this college is progressive. It's an award-winning institution. Those of you that are students currently, we're thrilled to have you with us. Those of you that are on this call to make a decision about whether you want to be with us, I encourage you to come, be a part of RCSJ. It is a caring, compassionate, qualitative educational environment. You will get a great education. We have opportunities, and we're getting more as we work in the connectivity with not only Rowan, but the other universities in our area, primarily in South Jersey. This is the place to be. And please keep in mind, as you think about sitting out this year because of this confusion and the uncertainty, and should you go back into a college situation with or without dormitory life, and you find out in the middle of it, a spike occurs or an outbreak happens, and you're going to have to leave that site. We're trying to avoid disruption. To err on the side of caution limits the exposure to confusion and disruption. It may be inconvenient, it may be more difficult, but we think this is still transitional. We will get through this. We will. So you have to be able to be flexible in the beginning, and we'll transition together to a better, higher ground. And when we get there, we'll be better equipped to work with one another. So the gap year, as it's being called, I would encourage you as a professional, as someone who's been in this business for quite a while, you don't want to stop the momentum of your education, because if you do, it's difficult to restart it. The financial situation is strangling all of us. The social unrest is making us all very uncomfortable and questioning our values. And the pandemic is a biological threat. So that is my perfect storm that I've been talking to people and staff. So what I'm pointing out is these are the most difficult times to stay the course. But as the president of the college talking to students, I encourage you, stay the course. Do not take this pressure and the stressors and lose your dream or disjoint or disconnect your pathway to your dream, to get a degree, to move on, advance your education, and be ready for when this society comes back together again, that a better day is there for you with regard to the employment and supporting your family for your wishes and goals of the future. So stay with us. We will communicate as best we can. Be patient. Understand that the rules of engagement are not clear to us. Understand that our vision is somewhat different than what's being rolled out across the nation. We will play on a conservative level. More on that later. By the end of this month, we will be clear and precise as to what you will get for your dollar. Keep in mind, we are affordable and accessible. We can connect you to work, and we can connect you to job when those situations allow it right now. Keep in mind the disorganization of the workforce and the opportunity to be inside that workforce is greatly limited. So all the roads are somewhat down, but we can get through it, and we will. And I hope that you will be a part of us and tell our story, and keep in mind that this is the best place to be, I think anytime, but certainly at this time. This is the best place to be. Stay with us. We'll get it through it together. We'll keep you informed, supported, and in place with regard to your future plans. And we will come through this, I think, a better college, and hence you will be a better student body. You will be steeled to what can be really adverse situations. And that, unfortunately or fortunately, is what will build you for the rest of your life. So thank you for the time. Thank you for tuning in. This panel will put more on it. Each and every one of us stands prepared to talk to you. We're here to listen. We will work with all parties, but keep in mind, we are trying to chase down an enigma. This virus is unknown. So please be patient. Thanks again. And Josh, with that, I'm going to give it back to let the panel put a little more detail onto the remarks I made.
Thank you very much, Dr. Keating. You know, one of the reasons I've always been so proud to work at Rowan College of South Jersey is because of your student success, the fact you take student success so seriously and diversity so seriously. So Dr. Keating, a question for you. Let's say that a student wants to let their voice be heard when it comes to the diversity issue that's existing right now. How best does a student do that today? Who should they reach out to?
Well, I have appointed Almarie Jones on the Gloucester campus as she is the special assistant to the president for diversity and equity. She has two counterparts, Yavanka and Nate on the Cumberland campus. They are the chairs of the respective committees on each campus. So that is the triangular connection with regard to our formulation. We're going to be doing a strategic plan component to be inserted into the collegiate strategic plan, which was up for renewal. We're opening up the new strategic plan of the college for the next 5 years. We'll be able to infuse this consideration of equity and diversity. While we are in this format where we can't get together physically, socially, this puts a great hindrance on our ability to talk and communicate. So to answer that question, I would suggest, and we have asked the staff and faculty to do the same, any person who would like to add their voice to this conversation can email it to me, and my email is on the website. They can send it to any one of the panelists who have the same email address, and or go specifically to Almarie Jones on the Gloucester campus. We can funnel that down to student services with Judy Atkinson, who will speak in a moment, and talk about our student life and the student connection that we're going to try to have, our clubs and our organization. Let me just say this before I let it go. We are going to make these changes, and we are going to make them systemic. This will be systemic throughout the college as a platform on which we build our institution in the future. One that will be diverse, that will treat people with respect, that will recognize our differences, and will be inclusive at all levels. We're working on our employment profile. We're working on our composition of student groups and student body, and specific in programs that are designed to help individuals that may need a little additional assistance of money or programmatic adaptation. So we're going to make it part of who we are and build our foundation upon it. And all I can say now is until we can get back together, it has to be done this way, and this is probably the least desired way to do it. But I would say reach out to any one of us, or more importantly, Almarie. She will direct you to the respective campus components, and that's where we get the heart and soul of the conversation. And they'll be meeting in the Zoom capacity, but once again, I'm not of too much mind. We have to watch the fall. If we stay online, which we appear to be doing, we will not have the connectivity personally. We're going to have to do that the best we can, the same way we're delivering education remotely, and then let those two roads collide as we migrate back onto the campus as a community that'll be together face to face and able to speak to one another. And that would be in the spring. So this is not going to be easy either, but I think we can keep the conversation going, and they would be the ports of entry of where you would get into the conversation at the student level, the faculty, the staff, or even interested party. We're all available. Almarie is the point person. We are in research and development of a plan along with other colleges and universities.
Thank you very much, Dr. Keating. In just a moment, we're going to start to unpack what online education in the fall means. But before we do that, Dr. Hall, as our Chief Medical Officer or Medical Director, can you please let us know how COVID-19 is impacting Gloucester and Cumberland counties right now?
Absolutely. Thank you, Josh. So thank you to those of you who took the time to join us today. The one thing that I can say for sure, this coronavirus, otherwise known as COVID-19, experience has taught us that nothing stays the same for very long. We have collectively at the college, and when I say the college, this is both campuses, the Gloucester and Cumberland campus, have utilized a mechanism where we communicate on a daily basis through many committees that serve different populations, from employees and staff and even students. Collectively, from the medical point of view, working directly with our health department representatives. There are appointed liaisons in the Cumberland County Health Department and the Gloucester County Health Department, and working with our representatives even in the New Jersey State Health Department, as well as looking at the guidelines of the CDC, has come together and allowed us through these different entities to develop conversations where every decision is made by evidence. We are looking at resources, we are looking at procedures, we're looking at policies and practices to put in place at both campuses, even when we talk about a soft opening, returning to staff, to keep safety of the utmost and foremost priority in our minds. When the college does reopen, and we're not sure on that date yet, we will make sure that every available resource is present, again, with the goal of keeping everyone safe. That includes our faculty, staff, and students. Using this evidence of what we learned in the past few months and what is being predicted in the future is allowing us to make decisions that will, again, be of safety, but also to have those resources available, such as masks and those things. We're in collaboration from the medical standpoint with our representatives in infection control and epidemiology from different healthcare providers. Personally, myself and some other staff at the college are still working, continue to work at the bedside, so we have access to those resources as well. We bring that knowledge together. In addition to all of our academic leaders in healthcare throughout the state, we collaborate, we share resources, and all of us are of one mind that our priority is to keep our students as well as our faculty and staff safe. So just know that as we get closer to that decision when we're going to return, that the things that we put in place are not only sound practices from an evidence-based background, but also these are the recommendations from our leaders in the industry and the scientific world. And we just thank you so much for your time and the priority that you placed on today's meeting to just kind of listen as we come down that final stretch of when we can hopefully return to what we're calling the new normal. Thanks, and stay safe.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hall. Dr. Rickards, I hope you're comfortable because I have a few questions for you. The first, and this is going to be one of the easier ones. During the summer, do students take online final exams?
So in terms of the summer classes, all of the summer classes are on an online delivery type of a format because, you know, like Dr. Hall had mentioned, we still are under the closure orders from the governor's office. In terms of individual classes, it varies in terms of what type of delivery you are having and what the curriculum is. The best thing that you could do would be to reach out specifically to your instructor. They should have given you clear guidance on what is expected for you throughout the semester, and recognizing that the first part of the summer is ending very, very shortly, I would encourage you, if you're enrolled in those classes, to reach out immediately to your instructor to ask what the final is. Classes vary. Some have cumulative finals, some have just fourth exams, some have projects at the end. The best thing that you could do in terms of your finalization of your classes would be, again, to contact your faculty member.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rickards. Does somebody else have a comment? No, okay. So let's unpack the fall. What does the fall look like right now? And I know that it's not set in stone because we, again, like Dr. Hall said, we don't know what this virus is going to bring us. We're also looking for guidance from the state. But students want to know, am I going to be taking classes online primarily? If so, how's that going to occur?
So Dr. Keating hit it on the head. What we are leaning towards is kind of a physically distant type of delivery in terms of students on campus, because what we have to keep in mind is the safety of the faculty, the staff, and the student body, because we simply do not know enough medically and are still waiting on direction coming from higher above us to dictate which direction we would be going. As we have been preparing for the fall term, what we have done is taken into account the experiences that each and every one of you have had in terms of the spring term, because if you look and think about the spring semester, if you were attending RCSJ or another college, you were forced to flip your academic future on a dime and completely switch your learning abilities and what you could do not in the classroom, but in a completely virtual format. Some of which you, I'm sure, enjoyed, some parts of which I'm sure you did not. If you are in high school and you are a graduate of the class of 2020 from your local high school, first, congratulations. Second, we respect the work that you had to do to complete your studies. And third, I know that you have been missing all of your actual experiences as a senior, but during that time, as you've been working to wrap up your senior year, we have been working hard to develop a variety of different delivery options. What we are planning for in case we do go into the total online format or the majority online format is a couple of different options. The first are your traditional online courses. In terms of a traditional online course, those would be the courses that you could have enrolled in at any time as in an online format where you work on the material at, I don't know, 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning. And if you're coming out of high school, that may have been how you completed your high school education. Not sure, but it's possible. So that's kind of the traditional online where you do have due dates, but you complete the work at your own time, at your own pace, as long as you're meeting the due dates. The second is a new delivery modality that we have developed at RCSJ that we're calling live online. What the idea of live online is, it's a specific meeting type where you get to interact with your faculty members and with other members of the class in an online environment. These would have scheduled meetings. You interact with a faculty member as if you were in the classroom, but we would be keeping you physically distant and you interact with them over technology. The big advantage of this is it allows the interaction between the faculty and the staff, which I know as a former educator and currently in administration was one of the key things that I loved as an instructor. The other part of that is it also allows the interaction between the students, as you would have chat areas. You literally talk to one another in the environment such as the one that we're currently using. So these live online classes, they are not your traditional online classes. You will be getting live instruction. You would be getting live questions answered, just as if you were in a classroom situation, but you would ultimately have the ability to sit, listen, and work with your faculty member in the comfort of your own home. What you see on the screen currently are a pretty good description of looking at the way that we could be potentially offering these. I want to pay particular attention to the online, live online, and hybrid, because the face-to-face is the traditional delivery that most of you are used to being in a class. If you start with the online, this was the first thing that I had mentioned. The second one on the right bottom, is the live online format where you have the specific scheduled times and you would know this ahead of time and you would be able to interact with your faculty members. And then finally, the mix on the top would be the hybrid. And Dr. Keating had mentioned these. Some of the programs do have work that you would have to complete if we go in this way in a classroom scenario. And here you would be doing hands-on work in the classroom or in clinical type situations. So if we do have to go the direction of the online format, those would be the 3 main ways in which you would sit in the class. The last thing that I want to mention in terms of pursuing your education is another thing that Dr. Keating had hinted on, which was the gap year. If you start thinking about the gap year, the attrition or the loss of knowledge that you would potentially have from that year could be catastrophic. I think back to my own education. In college, I went all the way up through Calculus 2, and where I currently sit today at home trying to work with my children and get them through, in my case, 8th grade math, which is Algebra 1, and 3rd grade math, I found myself at a loss, in particular in Algebra 1. So it gives you a pretty good idea that you need to keep using and keep up with the material. So my advice to you would be, don't take that gap year, even if you're thinking about it. Even if you take a couple of classes to keep yourself current, definitely do that as you pursue your career in academics.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rickards. You know, something else to point out as well, and I've heard this and I've experienced a little bit myself because I have young children at home that I'm also trying to do math with, which has been interesting. The way that we present it at the college is going to be less chaotic than the way that a lot of high school students and traditional school students have experienced, where it's use this app, use that app, now go to this website. Everything that we offer goes through our e-learning platform. And so everything is in one place. You log in one time and then you get to the content. The other piece too is that in the next week or so, we're going to be unveiling a new unified platform to be able to do that live online, to be able to actually, you know, speak with your professor and your fellow students in real time. And that, like I said, will be unified across both campuses, so it'll be just the one platform. And the other piece too that we're also working on is making additional training available to our faculty, so that, you know, we can do an even better job in the fall than we did in the spring, because, you know, it was a little chaotic for everyone because it was this last minute flip. In this case, you know, we know that there's a better chance that we're going to be doing this, or at least there'll be some aspects that are going to be online. So we're certainly working towards making sure that it just goes as smoothly as possible. And I promise you, it is going to go smoothly. The other piece too, just to speak for another second, is the laptop program that Dr. Keating spoke about. We know that for some students, one of the issues was they couldn't get to the online resources because they didn't have a device at home. So in the next week or so, when we unveil the new live online platform that we're going to use, we'll also be unveiling the laptop that will be available to the students. And what's going to be great about this is that students will be able to buy that laptop using their financial aid money through Barnes & Noble. So for a lot of students, they'll be able to just really afford it with financial aid. Other students, it might be a little more problematic, and we're also going to have foundations available to work with students as well, to make sure that we get the technology in everyone's hands, because we know you need that technology to be successful. And then the final part of that is we're also looking at the ability on a case-by-case basis to help students with internet as well. Because obviously, if you have the device, but you don't have an internet connection, you're going to be at a disadvantage. So I promise you, we're looking at all of these. We're dedicated to looking at all of these. You know, they're all hard problems, and we're taking them on because we want to make education as smooth as possible, so that, you know, you, our students, can take advantage of all the resources that we offer. So, Dr. Rickards, what is the status of internships in the fall?
So what we are looking at doing with the internships is we are reaching out to the local employers to develop as many connections as feasible with the employers. In terms of internships, if we can place you with an employer, we will do so. We have set up a new division of internships with Dr. Candace Raciti at the leadership. Those of you that don't know her, she is excellent, and she will handle the interaction and placement for internships so that you ultimately can have work going directly towards your degrees as well. So Dr. Raciti would be an excellent person to contact for that, but we are looking at placing as many students as feasible in our partners in the business industry world.
Thank you. On a similar note, and this question is for you, Judy, and for you, Jim, what's the status of work-study options for the fall? So it's kind of different from internships, right? Are we going to be able to offer those if we're going to be primarily online?
Yes. So work-study will be awarded to the students as it normally is as part of their financial aid packages. And primarily, we're going to look to place them in remote delivery, but also evaluate on a case-by-case basis, because much like internships, we would want, you know, we're going to be open here, so we're going to look to see about if we can place, but safety being the utmost importance, as been mentioned before. So yes, but we are going to be reevaluating that on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you. Dr.
Josh, I just lost my earpiece, but yeah, I just wanted to go back a little bit about support and academic support, and Judy could chime in on this as well. But, you know, we really pride ourselves in how we support students holistically. And we will have in place ways to, we're working on better delivery in areas like tutoring, advisement, our wellness center, of course, and even our student clubs. So I think in the fall, the students will get a very complete experience at the college virtually. And we're through the summer, we're perfecting all those different areas. And I think it'll be a spectacular experience for the student.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bacone. Dr. Hall, if I can address a question to you that's kind of coming up. Who are you working with within the counties, hospitals, et cetera, to help inform your direction to the president, to the cabinet about, recommendations with how we move forward?
So on a regular basis, there's conversation with our appointed representatives from each of the county health departments. To bring it up to date, I have submitted our plan, our tentative plan, what we're looking at, what kind of resources. Some information was shared back from our representatives, additional resources that the county had that we will make available for both staff and students. Collectively, as I stated earlier, several of us, meaning myself and Dr. Barber and our faculty, are still working at the bedside. And with that, we come in contact all the time with physicians and leaders in the infectious disease world, as well as our colleagues who have experience in taking care of patients who have been diagnosed with COVID-19. And we're, living that firsthand experience and what is going on in our local counties in regards to healthcare in our hospital settings. We're also on a regular basis talking to our clinical sites. Right now, in regards to our programs with clinical experiences, there has been no approvals yet, but the anticipation from those clinical sites is they say over and over again, they want our students back, but again, we need the approvals from not only the governor's office, but the hospital administration as well.
Thank you very much. Nick, one of the questions that's come up a few times, it's fall athletics. How are we going to handle fall athletics?
Well, right now, our both athletic departments on each department have formed a task force regarding this issue. They are in communications with the conference, the region, and national level. So we will be getting guidance from those organizations. Also, I mean, it's very interesting because we're also going to be getting guidance from the CDC and, of course, the New Jersey Department of Health. I think we can see right now the governor has released some action plans regarding high schools, Little League, pros, but has not released anything regarding the universities. The 4 universities are a little different. They're going under whatever conference they are. But on paper, June 22nd is when you're really allowed to have something go on. Our athletic departments have told me that they really don't start practices under the conference rules till August 1. So we have a little bit of time to start understanding that, because our fall sports are going to be interesting ones. You know, we have wrestling. That is probably the most difficult sport regarding this COVID issue. You have basketball. Again, people don't think it's a contact sport. It's a contact sport. So we have the whole issues regarding inside versus outside. So I hate to say we don't have an answer. We don't have an answer, but we are reviewing all the guidances from all other areas in addition to our conference. So we'll basically be following the conference region and national organization for health.
Thank you very much, Nick. Dr. Keating, you know, one of the benefits we have from our partnership with Rowan University is the fact that they have 2 medical schools. How does that impact and influence our decisions?
It's a great question, Josh. I wanted, listening and watching the questions go up on the screen from the audience, I've seen again that the idea of who's leading the medical conversation. As you see today, Dr. Hall is the medical director. She's our point person. She's connected to the hospital. She's working in the hospitals. She has a great connect with regard to many of the hospitals, including, and more so in Spira's network in South Jersey, where we have hospitals in both Gloucester and in Cumberland County. But Rowan Medicine is building a component of the medical school on the Gloucester campus. If you've seen the campus lately, needless to say, that has been impacted by the virus with regard to the startup dates. But it points to, and also in Cumberland, we have a proposal for a building on the Cumberland campus to work in concert with the Inspira Hospital down in Vineland. So I wanted the body to know that Dr. Hall's got a wider net of connection than most people. Keep in mind, we are working hand in hand with Rowan University, and in some of their literature is being designed by their medical school. Dr. Thomas Cavallari, the Dean of the Rowan School of Osteopathic Medicine, is the Dean that will be overseeing the programs on both Gloucester and Cumberland campuses. We'll be the only county college, we think, in the country that has a medical school on both of its sites, or a component, shall I say. How is that relevant to this? Is that we have an ongoing conversation through Dr. Hall with Rowan Wellness down on the main campus. And we also have connectivity to, again, to the medical school and the dean and the directors there and the physicians that are working there. So we've got a wider net of connection to the conversation through Dr. Hall than anyone else really has, except the large research medical school universities, of which we have a partnership. So we've got a piece of that connectivity. And to that end, when that campus in Gloucester and then in Cumberland open these clinics, we will have capability of probably testing and treatment for a variety of considerations, not only physical, but behavioral, right on our site from a medical staff and the doctors who oversee them, the students. So I just wanted to insert that with the questions popping up about where are you getting your medical guidance? We're getting it from everyone we can, but primarily we are partnered with a medical school through a research university, Rowan, and we also have practical knowledge and connectivity with epidemiology, such with Inspira and some of the hospitals. So we are well informed. I think that Dr. Hall has connected us it's admirable how she's connected us to the conversation. But once again, we're back to the same point. Even those on the front line of this virus are still working their way through exactly what it is and how it operates. So I want to assure the listeners that we've got a lot of connection. We're not an isolated county college system with no medical exposure. We've got a medical school as well as a hospital system, and many hospital systems in part of our conversation.
Thank
Thanks.
you very much, Dr. Keating. And I think it's also important to point out that Dr. Hall is literally in the hospitals helping patients as well. I mean, so she literally boots on the ground, if you will. One comment that was asked was about student life, and Dr. Pacone, thank you very much for adding to that. I think it's also important to note that our clubs are definitely still meeting. The Music Society, for example, just the other day, they met and put out kind of a music video, if you will, which is pretty great to see. It's available on Instagram and Facebook. But so the student clubs are definitely still meeting, and the platform that we're going to use for Live Online is going to also be available to every student in the fall. So every student will be able to use that to be able to be socially connected, right? I think that's important. We say, we're socially distanced. I look at it as being physically distanced, but not socially distanced, because we can use tools like this to be able to talk with everyone. And I think that's very important. Dr. Rickards, earlier, President Keating spoke about a new division, the Career and Technical Education Division. Can you speak about that a bit and how that's going to be able to help folks that have been impacted by COVID-19 and unfortunately are now unemployed or underemployed?
Absolutely. So what the main idea behind our Career and Technical Education Division is, it's the idea of using stackable credentials. So when we speak of stackable credentials, it's a college jargon term that a lot of people hear that doesn't make sense to the outside. So what it truly means is that students can enter into different types of programs with work knowledge that they come from any type of a training program or any experiences that they may have, and jump right in and start up with a few classes and earn career credentialed certifications. So what these certifications would be, they are credentialing that allows you to enter back into a workforce without taking multiple years of education. If you do choose to continue education, what you could do is you take those career certificates that you may have earned and they quote unquote stack into the 2-year degrees that we will offer through that actual division. So the idea is, when you hear stacking credentials, it means that you earn one credential, i.e. career certified certificate. You then use that and use the degree credits that you have earned towards earning an associate's degree. And if you're so interested, you can continue on and earn 4-year degrees at our 4-year partner, primarily Rowan University.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rickards. Judy and Jim, the concept of the gap year, Dr. Keating spoke to it during his introduction, but it comes up. Can you explain why a student that is considering a gap year really shouldn't at the end of the day, and why they should look at Rowan College of South Jersey as really a very viable option?
Sure. As Dr. Keating had mentioned, taking that gap year may be tempting, but just keeping one toe, so to speak, in the water kind of helps with the continuity, and it'll get you to your end goal, whether it's that associate degree or the transfer or going into the workforce. I, on a personal note, had encouraged my son. He took a longer path to his associate degree, but I just tried to encourage him, just keep working at it, keep one toe, so to speak, in the water. But there's other opportunities to not just on the academic side to kind of attract you from staying away from the gap year. We had mentioned the student life is a very viable option, and so it's just keeping yourself moving forward with whatever your goal is going to be. And we're here to do it because, as I like to say, we are the #1 college ranked by New Jersey schools.com. So this is your best option. And yeah, I definitely would not encourage that gap year.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I even if you do have to work and you don't have to come back as a full-time student. You could take 6 credits, but just keep things going and moving forward. We have a lot of academic programs, and as Dr. Rickards mentioned earlier, we have the CTE program now, where you could create or earn stackable credentials throughout even starting in high school or working with the Perkins programs in the high schools now. So you could build a career from high school through Rowan University. So so many of us, I know I finished my doctorate when I was 50 years old. So it's important to be a lifelong learner and just continue through your educational pursuits.
Thank you very much. And I think it's just key for everyone to understand, you can literally transfer anywhere. You can come to Rowan College of South Jersey for a semester, a year, 2 years, and then transfer anywhere. And what are you going to be doing for yourself? Honestly, you're going to be working with some of the best faculty that are around, faculty that are just focusing on the courses that they're teaching. And you're going to save a lot of money. And, in these uncertain times, that's a key piece, right? It's important. And again, we're going to offer a lot of different formats for you to attend class, right? You can attend class purely online if you want to. And, like Dr. Rickard said earlier, that might mean that you're doing your work at 2 o'clock in the morning. Or if you're someone that you say, you know what, I need to be able to meet with the professor. I need to see the professor, and I need to do it at a certain time because I might procrastinate, for example, right? The live online format is really going to be a fantastic option because you're still going to have that ability to interact with your professor. Well, with that said, I think we've probably come to the end of our program. I want to thank everyone very much for attending today. I promise you we're going to hold more of these town halls. It's our goal to be as transparent as we can possibly be with both our students and employees. So again, thank you for attending. Don't forget about all of the resources that we're curating at Rowan College for Rowan College's response to the pandemic, and that's at rcsj.edu/coronavirus. Again, if you had a question and we weren't able to answer it today, I promise you we'll get back to you in one way or another, most likely through the FAQ, which again, rcsj.edu/coronavirus. And again, thank you so much for attending. Remember, we're in this together, and together we can beat this pandemic and fight for social justice, and our college is stronger for it. So once again, thank you. Be safe, everyone.